Connection. I'm Geneva Doso, your host for this edition of the Connection podcast. Today we are joined by a special guest, Christian Michalik, the superintendent of the Riel School Division. Throughout this interview, we will discuss his career and, of course, how the recent COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education system in Winnipeg. Good morning, Mr. Michalik. Thank you for joining us.
Bonjour, Geneva. Hi, Geneva.
Let's jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. For how long have you been the superintendent of the division?
Oh, okay. All right. I've been the superintendent. Let's see. Effective date was January 2019. But I was appointed an acting superintendent back in December 2017. So it's been a little while. But I've been at the board office for some time. I started at the board office in 2005. It's been a while.
Awesome. What made you want to choose this career path as a teacher, then principal, and finally superintendent? How did you get started?
Well, essentially, as your question suggests, it's really about being a teacher. I mean, essentially, I still consider myself a teacher, and I happen to be a teacher that over the years has had opportunities, and I consider myself very privileged in that way. So I started teaching in 1989, way back when. Explains the gray. And I started as an elementary school teacher in St. James School Division, Assiniboia School Division, and made my way to St. Vital School Division at the time, that eventually became Riel, to collège, as a teacher at Collège Jean Sauvé. And again, because of the nurturing that happened for me, surrounded by teachers as a teacher, mentors, people that cared for me and believed in me and had me grow in confidence and tapping me on the shoulder, I took on these different roles of being a principal and then eventually an assistant superintendent and now a superintendent.
Awesome. So, of course, working with students has changed. How has COVID-19 affected your job?
Yes. Well, it's impacted all of us, right, Geneva? You too.
Yeah.
It's a very
Yeah.
different way of being of late. For me, the thing that has been most disconcerting, and I think it's that same reality for everyone, is the isolation, the fact that I can't be with my colleagues, that I can't be in the same space with them when we're talking through stuff, when we're making decisions. That it just reminds me that we are social animals, human beings, and we really need to be together to be healthy. And so that's been a big deal. Working from home remotely has been quite impactful on me, and so I can only imagine how impactful it is on you, on students, on your parents, your siblings, families, and on my teacher colleagues and staff colleagues. But I've got to say, I'm amazed that I'm more than amazed at how we've taken up the challenge as a community, and so for me, it's really been about in all of this change and the remoteness of it is still finding ways to connect, like we're doing right now, which is great, which is fun, and finding balance as well. I mean, that's one of the things that surprised me, is just how the days can get so filled with work, and things can become really imbalanced, because so all of us have got to find balance in all of it as well. And but I'm lucky. I'm very privileged, Geneva, parce que I'm a father. I have two daughters, but my two daughters are adult daughters, and so I'm in a better place than many other parents, where you're having to not only work remotely, but care for children that are school aged, and you're maybe also caring for parents that are elderly, and of course there's the impact of the virus on that relationship, on that reality. So I'm very privileged in that I have a lot less to balance than some in the community.
Of course, of course. So, in all your time as an educator, did anything prepare you for the impact of COVID-19 on school? Was it ever discussed or planned out?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. No, like, naively, maybe we thought we were somewhat prepared at the very start, but no, this is unprecedented. There's unless you're a student of history and have a really deep understanding of past pandemics, like the Spanish flu at the turn of the century, no, you couldn't have anticipated this. I mean, early on, I say naively, we some of us who had been around during the H1N1 flu pandemic. I think that was back in 2010, 2009. Anyways, I was in the board office then. Naively, I was thinking back in February, we've got some lessons learned from that, but that was very naive thinking. We quickly realized that nothing was preparing us for what was ahead.
That makes sense. So, what was your initial reaction to the announcement of Manitoba schools being closed indefinitely?
Good. Okay, good question. My initial reaction. Well, it was coming to us in the midst of a lot of fast-moving decisions being made. It's when I think back to that time in March, we had just, as a school division, been making decisions and talking together with folks about students that were planning to travel to Europe over spring break, and we had canceled all of that. Before that, we had to look after kids that were actually in Japan and bringing them back safely. And so we were already thinking about it wasn't yet a pandemic, but this virus that was spreading across Europe. And then things just started spiraling so quickly, so that when we learned about the decision to make a closure, we weren't surprised, because we had gotten over the last several days just used to this idea that every day brings something unexpected, and you just roll with it, you navigate that. And well, I'm relieved in retrospect, though. I was already relieved then, and even more so in retrospect, that when we decided to suspend classes for 2 weeks back in March, we took a week to prepare for that, and I think that was really smart and very helpful, and even more so today. And then, of course, in the midst of all of that, we learned of the decision, and it wasn't a surprise again, that we were going to extend the suspension until likely the end of the school year.
Mhm. So, now that schools are closed, what steps is the L'Oreal School Division taking in order to make sure that students are staying on top of their work?
Well, I think it's like I was saying, it's been about responding to this disruption to learning that is the situation we're in, having to physically distance each other, distance ourselves from each other, work and live in isolations. Again, those that actually have the privilege to do that. And so it's been about responding to that disruption, quickly finding ways to learn remotely, to leverage technology in ways that we never knew we could, to continue to build a relationship and a sense of community using technologies. But you can never replace the relationship through technology. And also just being very mindful from the get-go of the social and psychological dimensions of the situation we're in. so that we're looking after learning for kids, essential learning to continue, but also looking after their wellness, their social emotional wellness, and the wellness of their parents and their siblings, their families, and finding a balance in all of it. Being careful to not to be too hard on ourselves in trying to navigate all of this.
Of course.
And I just want to say
So do
something
you
before we
believe?
go on, like what I just touched on about how privileged we are. Again, what I'm reminded of throughout this crisis is how some in our own organization have to get out of their houses, can't work remotely. Our caretakers, our EAs, we have folks in schools right now doing very essential work, vital work, and so it's been also about looking after everyone in the community and making sure everyone feels valued.
Of course. So taking that into consideration, of course, we've been through a lot of challenges, but can you think of any success or something good that's happened since the COVID-19 has erupted? Anything that you're proud of?
Oh, sure, yeah. But you know what? Let's touch on that, what's been challenging. I want to take the opportunity to, remind us of how, again, amazing we've been in as a community, coming through some pretty significant challenges. Back on April 2nd, we received the very sad news that we had lost someone. That Wade Kidd had passed away, and he was a custodian at Windsor Park Collegiate, and so a tremendous loss for Wade's family and for our community, and there have been continued challenges since, but that's one challenge I wanted to acknowledge. But again, if we're coming through it, it's that we've shown how amazing we are as a community.
Mhm. Take your time.
But you had a question about. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Do you have anything that you're proud of or any success that you want to talk about since the COVID-19 erupted?
Yes, well, just what I was saying. I'm beyond grateful and beyond impressed about how amazing a community I'm a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have countless examples of that. You see the stories about how our teaching and non-teaching staff, beyond the teaching of students together, are coming together to put together food hampers for the most vulnerable, how we're doing our best to make sure everyone in the community has the privilege, the advantage of technology that the two of us are taking advantage of right now. We're making sure that all families have a connection to the internet, and all kids have a device to work from. Laptops are going out to families, to kids, and my only worry is that we may be missing someone. So this might be an opportunity if someone's watching and they still don't have a connection to the internet, or someone still is without a device to get on the internet, that we can make that happen. But
Of
what
course.
I'm most impressed about is just how everyone's come together.
Mhm. So finally, the province announced their plan to slowly reopen the province again on the Wednesday. So what's in store for the LRSD when schools open their doors again?
Right, good question. And we really have to start thinking about that. It's been really, really busy just getting through all the unexpected that comes to us every day, but we really have to start being planful about how things will look come when schools open again, likely not till September, and thinking about that. And so I was just on a call before our interview with other superintendents uh, and the province, the government, about how government is talking. And when I say government, I mean the education sector with the healthcare sector. Dr. Rusin, who has been a very important person and offering expertise in making decisions, And so it'll be about a very deliberative, careful, considered approach. Lots of information, lots of good information, and I suspect it's going to look different from a typical start to a school year. It's going to be staged. It might look different depending on the age of the students, and someone I've been reading a lot about from recently is this individual out in San Francisco who's written about the hammer and the dance of being in this pandemic, and how we're probably going to be ebbing and flowing in and out of different ways to keep each other safe.
Of course. Well, that ends our show for today. I would like to thank our guests for being here with us today. Thank you, Mr. Michalik, for being a part of our show. Do you have any last words you'd like to
Thank
share
you.
with our audience?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
I
I've
hope you
been
enjoyed our
saying
show.
last words I've been sharing for a while. Keep safe and stay well.
Thank you so much.
Merci.
We hope you enjoyed our show about the effects of COVID-19 on the educational system in Winnipeg. It was a pleasure to have the superintendent of the Riel School Division join us today and give his take on the matter. I'm Janine Badoso, and this is the Connection Podcast, our way of keeping you connected during this pandemic. Make sure to follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at LRSDTV, and of course on Twitter at LRSD_TV. Remember to stay connected and stay safe.